come to Bethlehem, you're at the ballpark. We have music playing. The scoreboard's on. There are announcers. They're playing music between innings. There's music coming from the concession stand. Anytime that we have games out here, we have food out here. So, we got burgers, hot dogs, peanuts. We have a couple specialty things we do. We do barbecue and Philly cheesesteak fries. And we have a lot of good food, and we keep it cheap, affordable. I had a family actually joke with us, it's cheaper for them to eat at Bethlehem than it is for them to go to the grocery store and eat. So I think those things are really big, having bringing color to the facilities, meaning banners. When I first came here, it looked like a sand lot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
Creating that experience and that environment for people, which, I named off a few things, but really it could have just been environment and experience. I could have summed it all up in those two things. I think that is a big thing, and we've gotten very lucky that our seniors, so Little League ages out at 16. And as you know, and anybody else listening, around 12, participation drops. But Little League drops also because kids go to travel ball and they get invested in school ball.
To be able to reach the highest levels of this game, you got to work hard. You got to get in the cages. You got to do your strength and conditioning. You got to throw your bullpens. There's all of this physical stuff that you need to do, and you need to work hard at it. But don't forget that you also have to get better at the mental side of the game. And one of the ways you can do that is increase baseball IQ by downloading and using the 6-Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use 6-Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at 6-tool.com. 6-Tool. Get ahead in the game.
Well, everybody, we're going to jump back to October of 2021. We had on a guest, Matt Cole from the Bethlehem Little League. And ever since then, Matt and I have, stayed in touch. We've, text back and forth, occasional phone calls. And, it's one of the wonderful things about doing this podcast is I always say it's about the relationships, but you build a lot of relationships. So anyhow, Matt reached out to me the other day and we got to talk and said, hey, let's do another show. So we're going to hit it hard with Matt Cole of Bethlehem Little League. How you doing, Matt?
Doing good. Thank you, Jim, for having me back.
Oh, no, this is great. You kidding? I enjoy this. This gives me a chance to see, what's happened in the last 4 years. And, are you experiencing the same thing that I'm seeing? So tell me, what's going on?
Well, since we spoke last, things are going good. I actually pulled some numbers today before our talk, and you said we talked in 2021?
Yep.
So since then, starting in 2020, our registration was 80. This past year, 2025, we were at 256.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So, and every year we've jumped anywhere from 2 to 3 teams.
Wow.
Each year adding. So we've been busy. We've been seeing a lot of success. And in the regular season and also in the postseason of playoffs here, local, internally with Bethlehem, but also the All-Stars in districts and stuff. So we're starting to figure it out. And I think that's a good conversation I had today, because when we talked last time, I was new here. And I was just getting going. It was my first year being coaching coordinator here, and a lot's changed since then. I'm vice president this year and coaching coordinator. So a lot's changed, and I think it's a good conversation to have about what that process looks like.
So let me ask you this, because the first thing that comes to mind is, you've grown so much in the 4 years. What do you attribute it to?
So I actually made me a little list. So there's some pillars that I kind of credit towards it. It's environment, experience, coaching, outreach, and promotion.
Okay.
So when I say environment, so we just got done hosting a coach pitch tournament, invitational for our district here in Virginia. And while we were watching the games, an instructor he was with back in the day, they shared a building together, and that guy was here watching some kids for another league that he trains, and he was shocked that our scoreboards were on. And he was like, travel ball, even school ball, little leagues you go around to, there's no scoreboards on. So just the environment of those kind of things. When you come to Bethlehem, you're at the ballpark. We have music playing. The scoreboards are on. There are announcers. They're playing music between innings. There's music coming from the concession stand. Anytime that we have games out here, we have food out here. So, we got burgers, hot dogs, peanuts. We have a couple specialty things we do. We do barbecue and Philly cheesesteak fries. And we have a lot of good food, and we keep it cheap, affordable. I had a family actually joke with us, it's cheaper for them to eat at Bethlehem than it is for them to go to the grocery store and eat. So I think those things are really big, bringing color to the facilities, meaning banners. When I first came here, it looked like a sandlot. And the guy that was president at that time, his big thing was color, life, bringing these banners here. So we have 2 massive banners on both fields that are just Bethlehem Little League, but our sponsors. We've been getting a lot of sponsors lately because of the work that we're doing, so their banners are up all over the place. So that adds life to it. And the experience, I think, is umpires, having paid umpires for our games. No matter what, you're going to have people who fuss about umpires. But for the most part, we have a good group of umpires here. And we take care of them. We pay them very competitive rate. And not just that, but when they're here, they get a free meal. They get water between games. They can come in here and hang out in the concession stand and cool down and all that. So we take good care of them. So when we have shifts and schedules and stuff, those guys are always willing to help us because we always help them. Having good games, meaning the coordination of it. When another league's supposed to come to us, the schedule works. Everybody's there. The umpires are there. Teams are there. It's a good environment on game day. And then, of course, coaching. That's the stuff that we like. Just having good coaches. I know that sounds, well, yeah, Matt, but having coaches not only that are the best with X's and O's, so we have, a couple coaches that may not be the most in-depth baseball guys, but they create a great environment. They facilitate a good environment for their kids, and all their kids are excited to come back the next year. They're good leaders, right? That's something that a lot of people miss. They want, the guy that had played in college, he may not be the best coach. He may not be the best leader, though. So we aim to get good leaders, guys with good character. We want those kind of guys around coaching. The education that we give coaches, which we can get into that later. I did something different with the coaching clinic this year. I think was a good thing. And of course the outreach stuff, taking care of the community, food drives, toy drives. Air fields are attached to an elementary school. So we proposed it last year, and I think me and one of the guys here are going to pursue it this year. The principal of that school said attendance is a big issue for kids, even in elementary school.
Wow.
And so we want to kind of give a Bethlehem student athlete scholarship. So we want to offer free registration to a few students at that school who show up every day, have good attendance, have good academics and all that. And I don't care if they're a stud, boy or girl, because we just started softball this past spring also. So we want them to have an opportunity to come out here and play. And not be a cost, because that's one of the big things for a lot of families. Do you want to throw out 80, 100, 120 bucks for registration and your kid hates it?
Right, exactly.
Right. So we do that, and then if you can do all those things good, being able to promote it, right? So we have a lot of families that are reaching out this year because they know families that are in Bethlehem, and they say, I know the Phil and Jerry family, and they spoke really highly of y'all, and we're watching your Facebook, and we really love what do we see? So the promotion of those things matter also, and doing it in a classy way, that's positive.
Yeah, I mean, I love everything that you just mentioned. I mean, I was getting excited listening to you, coming out to the ballpark and having the music playing, and like you said, the color and the banners and all of this stuff. This is what youth baseball is all about.
Right.
And I tip my hat to you, Matt. This is fantastic stuff.
Thank you. It's a lot of work to do all that. So that's the other pillar. You got to have people who are out of their mind and willing to work really hard for it, because, a lot of us, we get off of work, we're up here for an hour and a half before games start, getting things ready, pre-cooking food, making sure the field is dry, making sure the county did what they were supposed to, which that's something else that's helped us a lot these past couple of years. The county has certainly put an eye on us, and they have given us a lot of help with a lot of things over the past couple of years, which has enhanced our fields. This past winter, we actually had to sit down with them, and we're going through the complex with them. We're like, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. And I could see our contact with the county was a little overwhelmed. And finally I told him, I said, we're not asking for all this, but give us a green light on what we can do.
Yeah.
So there's an old building in the far back of our complex, which was the concession stand when I played here many, many moons ago. And it just turned into a place for cave crickets and mice and old catcher's gear and old bats. I mean, there was bats in there probably that I swung when I played here. And we actually went in this past winter. The board decided to invest, I think it's about $2,500, $3,000. And we went in and we knocked down some walls. We painted, we put up batting cages, we put down flooring, put in weights. So we actually have our very own workout building where guys can work on catching, fielding, hitting, and actually do some weightlifting. We got bands, water bags, a lot of things. And we actually invested in a little golf cart this year too. So that's a big deal for us. But that helps us with dragging the fields, helping grandma get from the parking lot. So it just adds to the image and what's the word I'm looking for? The impact. Yeah. That we can have, having those options.
What you just described also, obviously helps with the development of the players. The cage and
right.
All of that equipment. Now you could work with the boys, even if it's just a little bit. It's something.
Right. Yeah. So in the off season, I worked with a couple boys in there, and then of course when spring came up, we had a couple rainouts for practices and stuff, and we had several coaches book the room down there and would actually send nice messages like, hey, that was a lot better than what we thought it was going to be. So it's helped with rainouts. It's helped with sometime a kid buys a new bat and it's wintertime. Hey, can I go up to the building and hit? Absolutely, you can. So, and we want our high school kids in there working out too, but I haven't quite got them all in there yet. They're kind of preoccupied with other things this summer, I guess.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, I'm so happy. I'm overjoyed to hear all of this progress that you've made in 4 years. And man, I just wish that everybody would have that same outlook, that same drive, to help in the community, because, again, everything that you just explained, I'm getting excited. I want to come, I'm going to come to Virginia to, to take part in that league. I want, it sounds like
we always need coaches, Jimmy. Come on down. You hop right on 95. You'll be here in a few hours.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Is there an airport close by? Because that would be even better.
Yeah, we have an international airport here.
That's great. So, talk to me, because, again, the first time we spoke, you were the coaching coordinator, and you mentioned that, you're getting coaches and you're getting, facilitators, which I love that word. Ryan Brownlee uses it all the time, and I love it. What do you do? Are you doing anything different? What are you doing? Are you educating them? Do they have to take courses? Let's get into that a little bit.
So some of it I think is effort. Some of it I think is dumb luck, right? So I could easily sit here and pat ourselves on our back, but we're getting good families in here. We're getting dads and moms that are reaching out to help. So that's the biggest thing, just having a community that cares, right? We have not implemented a mandatory course that you have to take. It is something that we promote and we encourage people to do, but we are still not at the point of being able to turn somebody away because they don't do that, right? So we've had conversations in board meetings about kind of that thing, and I'm like, that's great, but we don't have a plethora, a line around the corner of coaches. So we embrace the coaches that we have step up, and of course I'm still doing the coaches clinics with them. We always do it in the spring. Sometimes I do it in the fall. Also, this year I'm doing a player camp, and just with my schedule, I don't think I'm going to be able to pull off a coach's clinic this fall. But this last spring, usually we would go to our high school coaches and get them to hold a clinic for us, which seems like a great idea. And I'm not knocking any coach. Every coach I reached out to from our high schools has jumped on the opportunity. They've been great. They've hosted us at their schools and their gyms, on their fields. I'm not knocking them at all, but the high school coach's mindset doesn't always relate to the coach pitch.
Yeah.
Right. So we find ourselves in there where they're talking about curveball grips and all these kind of things. I'm like, we might be ahead of ourselves a little bit here. So this year, I made a choice to kind of go a different route. I reached out to 4 different instructors, and one runs a travel organization here in town, but is also an elementary school teacher. So I got him to come and talk about communication with parents, with players, game day communication, body language, all those things that matter in the way that the kids respond to you. And I felt that he fit that role good because he's a school teacher. Right. So you think a school teacher doesn't want to show bad body language when little Timmy in the back does something absurd again, right? So he was well equipped, and my son actually worked with that facility. And I always liked when my son was there, the way he communicated. Right. He always kind of jokes that he over communicates. So we got him to do that, and then I got another guy, a young guy out of Randolph-Macon, which is a local college here. He did fitness, warm-ups, exercises, and catching with us. And then Dave, that you spoke with,
yep,
he did pitching for us. And then his partner, Yuri, did hitting for us.
Okay.
And the reason I went that route was because, and you're probably going through this right now hearing me drone on, but you listen to the same person drone on for 2 hours, sooner or later it turns into a conversation to womp, 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 and that's all you hear.
Yes.
So this year I wanted to get 4 different personalities, 4 different energies, 4 different voices to talk about these things. So when we got done with communication, there was kind of a mental reset. So in the hopes that coaches would stay more engaged, more tuned in, rather than, all right, now we're going to talk about defense, and now we're going to talk about hitting. So providing those opportunities for coaches and keeping an open line with coaches. So when we get done in the spring, I say, hey, guys, how do we do as a league? And there's some nice things, and sometimes they let us have it. But, again, we're lucky to have good coaches, because a lot of the times that they do let us have it, they've got a really good point. And it is something that we could do better, or something that we do need to keep in mind. Because we're not perfect at doing this. Sometimes we mess up and we make the wrong call on something, and they're there to let us know. But having that open line and that transparency where coaches feel like they can kind of let us have it a little bit, I think makes them comfortable to be here also.
Right. Well, I mean, let's face it, communication is, it's a two-way street. And I always look at it as you have to listen more than you speak. Okay. Because if you're not listening to what the other person's saying, then it's not a conversation and you're not communicating. So I'm with you. You have to give the feedback so that you guys can make corrections.
Well, in listening to understand, not listening to respond.
Exactly.
That's a big thing too, right? So when I read that email and he says, hey, we kind of crapped the bed on these few things, I can be reading that with, well, I got to get back at him on that. Or I can look at it and say, he's got a pretty good point. That didn't work too well.
Right.
We actually had that. We started softball this past spring. We were able to put together a coach pitch team and a minors team. And at the end of it, there were some gripes. There were some things that I think us as a league, we could have done better at facilitating. And then some of it was just start a new program can be ugly sometimes. But the board overall was very open to hearing those things. And after that, we actually brought on 2 women who are going to work as our co-directors for softball, because I told them, I said, this is a room full of baseball guys. And we're starting a softball program. It's like I told them, I said, we need somebody in the room who's going to say, hey, what about softball? And really push the ambition of the softball program, because it can get lost when you're in a room with a bunch of guys talking baseball.
Sure.
So just being open, and when you hear those things, make the adjustments. And if you can do that, you're going to have coaches. If you can do that as a business owner, you're going to have employees. Yeah. If you can do that as a coach, you're going to have players that support you, right? So that's the big thing. And just keeping an open line. At the beginning of this fall, I reached out, hey, who's going to be able to coach in the fall? Opening that line of communication up immediately, sent a email out to membership outside of the coaches that coach in the spring. And I got guys getting back to us saying, I want to help. I'm willing to manage. So just a lot of communication and support when they get in there. So, I had coaches that went into the minors, which is first year kid pitch. And as coaching coordinator and vice president, some of them asked me to come out and help their kids with things. So I squeeze out 30, 45 minutes in one of my evenings to come out and help them with that stuff. So when they do get in it, make sure that you're helping them. And I know that's hard to do. That goes back to being willing to really work your butt off. But support and communication is how you get coaches and you retain coaches, in my opinion. I
mean, absolutely. If you're just bringing in people and not supporting them, not working with them, not listening to them, they're going to lose interest real quick. Where, like you said, if they say, hey, can you help me with this? And you jump and, you go help them, then, they feel like they're supported. They feel like that everybody cares. And that's, that's a big part of everything, right?
Did you ever get over your hump at school? I know when you first took the job over there, you were having a hell of a time finding coaches to help you. Are you on your own out there, or did you figure it out, man?
No, I mean, we're bringing coaches in and things are working out.
Okay.
It's just like everything else, Matt. We just finished my second year there, and I'm always chomping at the bit. I always want things to go faster, and I know better. I know that they take time. So, we're second year was better than the first, and I believe the third year will be better than the second. But I have to be patient, and a lot of the guys.
It's hard, isn't it?
Oh, it's very hard. But I do have a support system, because I'm very lucky that I have a lot of good friends that are high level coaches that I could call at any time and say, hey, I'm smashing my head against a wall. Help me here.
Right.
And like everyone has said to me, Jim, trust the process. It's funny because I just had a conversation with Becky Bolio. She was a guest on the show, and she reached out to me on Instagram, and she was asking me questions about the program. And I was telling her, and she reminded me, again, this was yesterday. She just said, Jimmy, She said, relax. She said, these things take time. Everything will work out in the end. And, that's the truth. And, obviously I can say that you're proof of that also, because you've taken your time, you've done what you know is right, and look what you've done in 4 years.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said trust the process. How much do we tell our players that?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But we have a hard time doing it ourselves because we want it now. They the boys want to throw 90 right now. They want to hit home runs right now. And it's hard to trust the process. Patience is a hard thing. Humans are not patient.
Especially this one. But yeah, you're right. And I mean, we preach it, trust the process. And, thankfully I have people to remind me of that. So it's, it's a good thing to have that network and those relationships. But
right.
Let me ask you what you believe your opinion is of, let's face it, youth baseball has a lot of challenges. What do you figure are the biggest challenges, and what are you doing? Because you're doing something right where it seems like kids are coming to you rather than running away from you. Okay, so
right.
What do you think the challenges are, and what do you think you're doing right to head off those challenges?
All right, when you ask that, are you saying as far as like players or as coaches or as the organization?
Just the whole baseball culture, the whole baseball environment. And I guess what I'm really going towards is how, in most cases, community-based baseball, Little League, those type of things are actually declining and everything else is rising. But it seems like you're rising, and I want to know, what's the secret?
So I think it's back to those 5-6 things that I said earlier. Creating that experience and that environment for people, which I named off a few things, but really it could have just been environment and experience. I could have summed it all up in those 2 things. I think that is a big thing, and we've gotten very lucky that our seniors. So Little League ages out at 16, and as you know, and anybody else listening, around 12, participation drops, but Little League drops also because kids go to travel ball and they get invested in school ball. We have been very fortunate that we have 2 teams worth of kids almost who went from the small field to the big field with us.
Oh, wow. Great. That's great.
My son going into next year will be his last year. He is aging out. And I think having all those born and bred Bethlehem guys go all the way up to the big field, and this is the first group that we have gone to actual districts where, so you have invitational tournaments and then you have district tournaments. District tournaments has always been hard for a league our size, because these other leagues that we're competing against, they're picking from 10 teams. We're picking from 2 teams.
Wow.
So we go out there, we get our butts kicked, parents leave, and they don't come back. So we invested in becoming competitive in invitationals. And this senior group that we have, past 2 years, we've gone to districts. We play in a pretty good district in Virginia. Obviously, the Northern Virginia leagues are studs. Tidewater is studs, but around here we're in a pretty good district. We've gone 500 the past couple years, beat some really good teams, had some really good moments. But the younger kids, seeing those guys go up through the ranks and staying up there, it was cool. This year during districts and during All-Stars was the first year that I've seen this. There were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, families coming to our senior games, and vice versa. The 9s were at the 10s and the 10s were at the 8s, and you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And this was the first year that everybody showed up for Bethlehem, not just the teams, right? And we got a lucky thing, and I don't have a good explanation for you on why that's happening. Again, I think we're blessed with good families. I mean, some of it's dumb luck.
Well, I also believe that that's happening because of, again, those 5 things, right?
Yeah.
That environment you're creating where, maybe people are saying to themselves, look, we've got a great thing here in Bethlehem, and why am I going to go spend thousands of dollars to go travel all over the place when These guys are trying to create competitive baseball right here.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
it sounds like I was just talking, actually, the episode that I just released. We were talking about it, and I said that, you could have an event with your community-based league, like Bethlehem, and maybe afterwards, like you said, you have the food, and maybe you have a little barbecue or you have a picnic and stuff, and everybody comes together, and it'll be enjoyable, it'll be fun, it'll be a great day out.
Right.
And instead of, driving 4 or 5 hours away, playing the games. Yeah, and I mean, there is a social aspect to that, but you could have that same social aspect at home.
Well, so I think the big thing with rec ball, whether that's Little League, Babe Ruth, or whatever, and the travel ball thing, so you've come through the ranks. I'm coming up into high school with my son. I've been in first-year kid pitch and all that stuff, right? So I've been through it too. We look at it as an investment, right? So we're thinking, what are we getting for the money that we put in? So I told you my son did a few seasons of travel ball, and I got out of it. Just for what it asked of my family and what we were getting in return, I just didn't see a huge benefit to it. It just wasn't the fit for us. There's nothing against that organization. It just wasn't the fit for us.
Right.
The big thing with these families is keeping up with the Joneses. Everybody wants a Canes jersey.
Yeah.
Everybody, there's all these little stud organizations around here, which they don't realize. If your check clears, they're gonna find a team for you.
Yes.
I mean, there's some organizations that have 3-4 teams in one age range.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so would that third and fourth team, are those families best served spitting out all that money, or coming and getting with a good team here and having years of being together with the same guys and having an honest run to make some noise? I mean, I'm kind of upset with our past districts because one team beat us that shouldn't have beat us. And then another team, it was just a tough game. We're not going to get into it. But I'm sitting here watching Little League World Series on ESPN right now, the seniors, and I'm watching them guys play, and I'm like, we're that good, and that's because we've been able to keep those guys together for so long.
I was just going to say there's a lot to be said for what you just explained, okay? Because, my high school coaching experience have been in private schools. So the kids come from all over. These kids do not come up through the ranks together. They do not play their youth baseball together. And, like even now, the high school I'm at, they all play on different travel teams.
Yeah.
We have 4 kids on this team, 2 kids on that team. And there's never that camaraderie that, what's the word I'm looking for? That
brotherhood.
There you go. That's it. Perfect. That brotherhood. So that when they do get to the high school level, they've been playing baseball together for so long. They know each other. They know how they think. For me, it's an uphill battle. And the more travel ball takes away from community, then they're doing the same thing with public high schools because those kids again aren't playing their youth ball together.
Right. So we feed probably 6 different high schools, private and public. And then my son is actually out of boundaries, so he plays at a school for a different league. But it's cool because our battle cry going into these district all-stars are these guys are just grabbing a JV team from somewhere, or the league's so big, you got kids on a team that are going into battle who haven't played together. Yeah. I'm like, y'all's secret weapon is the third baseman can look at the body language of the right fielder and know exactly what kind of mood he's in.
Yes.
They can see their guy walking from the car and they know, oh, Jimmy's on. Oh, he's on one today. Or, hey, we got to pick Jimmy up. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Those guys know that as soon as they see each other. And something that we've added with those older groups, we started doing it a couple years ago, which now the guys that are in seniors, they want to stay so they can have this moment. The first year we only had 3 guys, but this past year we had like 6-7 guys that aged out. So we do a final lap for them. So our closing days, we have 2 senior teams, and the Friday before closing day, the senior teams play each other, and then each team lines up on their respective foul line, and then all the coaches present past coaches, if we can get some old coaches that help these guys along the way, they come out and we line up between first, second, and third. And then mom and dad are at home plate.
Oh, wow.
And we have a little speech, and we say, would the parents of Jimmy, Phil, and Jerry please come to home plate? Everybody lines up, gets ready, and they say, we're going to ask Jimmy to take his final lap here at Bethlehem.
That's great.
And you take off, and you stick your hands out to all your teammates. I'm a hugger, so when they age out, I'm giving hugs when they come by me. There's no handshake. I'm giving hugs. But we say some nice words about them, not just what they do at Bethlehem, but we try to hit on what they do at school and what they do in the church and what they do in the community and who they are as human beings, because we sometimes forget that.
Yeah.
That, like, we're all just human. Like, baseball is for a small period of time, but they're humans, and they're more than just ball players.
Yeah.
They're worth more than just how good they are on a ball team. So we try to celebrate the kid, not just the ball player. And, this past year we had 6-7 kids age out, and there were tears all over the place. The boys were crying.
Yeah.
The parents were crying. The announcer can barely get through because she's crying. And it's just something that's special, and it's goosebumps, and there's frogs in our throats every night that we do it. But now it's become a thing that the young seniors, the 13-year-olds, they're like, well, I want that to happen for me.
Yeah.
I want everybody to cry for me, and that's what it turns into.
Sure.
But now it's keeping kids wanting to age out here,
Yeah.
So it's nice. It's emotional, but I think it's a nice way to say goodbye.
But those are the things that you can't get, or I shouldn't say you can't get, because maybe you can, but you don't get from travel baseball, okay? Those are the things that make it special, okay? You had mentioned it about the play. Yeah, we know we coach the person first, the player second. That's,
Yep.
That's the way we do it. But you're bringing that to the forefront. You're showing everybody that that's what you do.
Right.
And it's so important that, this is why we need to bring this back, and this is fantastic. I love that it's working out this way for you.
Yeah, it was actually cool. So a kid that aged out, not this past season, but the season before, they had senior night at his high school. He's not a senior yet. He's a rising senior this year, but his mom was put in charge of senior night, and she actually implemented a final lap at the high school. And it was really cool, and the coach was retiring or whatever, so they actually made coach take his final lap.
Oh, geez.
And she said a bunch of words for him and kind of set it up the same way. She added some things and made it really nice. But it's cool to see it kind of bleed outwards, because usually it comes from the schools to us or something,
Yeah.
It's cool to see something that we do being implemented out of these schools.
Yeah. I mean, we do it at my school. I mean, this year I only had one senior. But, I got on the microphone, I gave a nice speech about him, and, he ran around the bases, high-fiving all of his players.
Yeah.
And, to your point, I mean, I'm a big softie, okay? Yeah. So even when I'm talking, I'm fighting back tears, and this and that, but that's part of it. That's part of that involvement, that camaraderie. It's just great.
Yeah. Well, and especially with this group of seniors that I have around me, I've had them since they were like 9-10 years old.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys.
Yeah.
So, it's not just, they're aging out from the league. Like, they're leaving me too.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect, when they were being little a-hole 12-year-old to their parents and going through struggles in school and doing all these, I talked with a lot of their parents about all this stuff as they were going through it. I've been there for different stages of these kids. They've gone from little boys to young men and everything in between. So it's tough saying bye to them, But as parents, you got older children. That's part of being a coach and a parent is the more they grow, the more we got to let go.
Yeah.
And that's part of it, but it's nice to honor them when they do go.
My son is playing in a men's baseball league, and him and I'm gonna guess probably about maybe 6 or 7 other guys on the team. They all went through Little League together, And now they're all 25, and they're they're playing
still playing ball together.
They're playing ball together, and I go to the games, and I am so proud, and just to be able to interact with them and laugh with them and joke with them. It's just, and I mean, I'll even tell you this: one of the guys who used to coach with me, he was about 10 years younger than me. He's playing on the team with the kids.
Why don't you get out there, man?
Those days are gone.
So.
So, but it's, like you said, yes, to see those kids, and it's just, this is what it's supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be about, people fighting with each other and, jumping from team to different organizations and nobody teaching them. It's supposed to be what you are doing, and I love you for it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's been a lot of work, but it's been worth it.
Yeah.
When we got done with our spring season, there's always this thing that happens, and I'm sure you've experienced a bunch of times too, but when those kids are aging out, or when we went from the small field to the big field, that last night on the field, nobody wants to leave. Everybody just kind of lingers around, and they don't quite go to the cars, and they just hang around. And when I was watching this past season, through how many times these kids have just, you see I ain't got much hair up there. I blame that 50% on these kids here. But, seeing everybody not want to leave tells me that the time spent was worth it.
Yeah.
And not just that, one of the boys that aged out a couple years ago, this year he came back, him and his father, while this player is a wrestler, football player, and baseball player at school, him and his dad made it a priority to come back and help coach. So he literally came back and he's coaching his buddies, which most practices turned into him getting some extra reps in. But he's out here. He's working in the concession stand, and that's awesome that these guys are coming back and they're wanting to do these things. And even when it's time for them to leave, they don't leave.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Sure. But I mean, it's again, it's the environment that you're creating. You're creating a place where people are having fun. They're enjoying. Again, if you think about it, that all of the stories that we hear about, all of the not. First of all, we don't hear anything good. Okay, is all we hear is the bad stuff that happens. Right? We never hear about what you're doing. But if you're creating an environment where everybody is as happy as you're explaining they are, well, why wouldn't they want to come back? You know what I mean?
Sure.
You want to hang out. You want to have a good time. You want to laugh. You want to joke. You don't want to see coaches screaming at kids and kids, pouting, and
right.
That's not what you want to do. So
yeah, we're pretty lucky. We don't have any super crazy coaches. There's a couple I got to reel in sometimes, but for the most part, everybody really cares themselves for class.
Right, but. You said that you had to reel them in, but are they open to it? In other words, if you say, hey, you know what, that's enough, will they listen? So
I've got a bad rap around here, I think. So I had one kid, one coach was a little fired up during the All-Stars, and I guess he talked to somebody, and he calls me, he says, I'm calling to see how bad Papa Matt's going to yell at me. I know I messed up and blah, blah, blah. And they listen to it. It's not an argument. It's not a nasty exchange. The same as they tell me I got to get better. Sometimes I got to tell them that they got to get better. And I'm lucky that we have guys of integrity, class, and character who can hear it, and not get offended or take it personally or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a friend of mine that runs an organization, down in New York City, and he's very, very successful, big program. And I said to him, that's some undertaking to get that many coaches to be able to, help you. I said, where do you get your coaches from? And you're taking the same, I'll say the same approach that he is. That what he does, he said to me, he goes, Jimmy, you'd be amazed at where we get our coaches from. He said, a lot of them are not baseball guys. They're not X's and O's guys. He said they're guys of high character, high integrity. They know how to deal with kids. He said, and then we take them and we teach them how to, coach.
Do baseball.
Right. How to teach baseball. And,
Right.
when he told me that, I thought that was brilliant, but it seems like you're doing the same thing. And I tip my hat to you. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, leadership is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And that's from the top of the league, but also the coaches. I mean, that's even down to, if you look into your professional world, you can make somebody a manager of a department because they have a certificate in whatever that is, or a license in whatever that field is, right? That doesn't mean they're a good manager. It doesn't mean that, right? They know the X's and O's, but man, the schedule is jacked up. Something goes wrong, they act like a-holes, right? So it's just grab leaders first, and then you can figure out the rest later on. Then they'll come to, because if they're a good leader, they're going to come to the coaches clinic. If they're a good leader, they're going to reach out when they're stumped.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to worry about those things. And we got really lucky. I told you we started softball this past spring. First time how old are we? We are 65 years old. We're 66. We're 65, 66 years old, and the league is. And this is the first time that we've had softball.
Wow.
And we got very lucky. We had a coach step up and coach pitch for us, who her sons play at the league, but she doesn't have a player that's involved with softball. She just stepped up for the league and took the softball team for us because we needed somebody to take the team. And then we got really lucky, and we had some parents and a coach that was involved with the older team. But the reason that first year of softball was okay, and the parents, I believe, for the most part, were happy, was because of those people that we had in place of leadership. They're the ones who made it successful. So that first year, there were some games that were canceled. People were supposed to be coming to us. That just schedules got mixed up. When you're trying to interleague all these leagues, things happen. But our coaches, they handled it with grace, and their interactions with the other leagues. Because when you travel to another league and they're not there to play you, it's kind of easy to be ticked off. Right?
Sure.
Like, I worked all day, I'm eating dinner late to be out here, and y'all aren't even here. And we were very fortunate. All of our coaches handled it with class and with grace, kept it moving, kept the parents happy. So it's just a saving grace, really.
Yeah, that I mean, it's all. I don't know what to say other than it's all good stuff. But let's talk about the future, okay? Well, first of all, you said that your son's getting ready to age out.
Yeah.
Does that mean that you're going to walk away from Bethlehem, or do you see yourself staying on even after your son ages out?
Right. So my son ages out this year. So there's two sides to this question. So he ages out from Little League this year. I've already spoken with the longtime president that's here, which is a guy that I played with when I was a kid here. I'm definitely going to hang around as a coach once he's gone because I enjoy coaching. I may take a break from the board just because the board stuff can be exhausting. It's a lot of moving parts. But that really all depends on what shape we're in. So if it's like, Matt, we don't have anybody else, I'm a sucker. I'm probably going to do it, right? But the other side of that is we're actually looking now. So Babe Ruth, you can play till you're 18. And there is no rule against taking a double charter with Little League and Babe Ruth. And actually Little League promotes us to use the Babe Ruth option to keep the kids playing. So these guys that are aging out, so, last year they're all aging out and they look at me and I was like, what now, coach? So we're actually looking at the option of when they age out from Little League age, we're going to put together a Babe Ruth team. So down here, they call it Big League is what it is. It's just big league balls for the 16 to 18 years old. And pretty much Big League has split with Legion ball. So what Legion was back when I was a kid and when you were younger, it was everything for summer ball. That's what you had. You had Legion ball. So obviously those numbers are dying down, but it's a pretty even split between you either do Legion ball or you do Big League. So it'll be something that we can help them get summer reps because a lot of these guys are still playing school ball. have aspirations to go to college and play. So I think it's going to be a way for us to keep these guys together after their little league age out. But yes, I think I'm still going to be a part of it. I told him, I said, even if I'm not a coach or a board member, I'll come out here and drag the fields on the golf cart for y'all. Because that's probably my favorite part of doing this now is just dragging the fields, just looking at the lines when I go around in circles.
Well, because
it's pretty simple.
And the reason why I ask that is because, from what I know of you, from talking to you, the few times that we've talked, is that, it would be a shame because you've been a big part of building Bethlehem Little League to just walk away and not see it, go. Because I know with me, when my son aged out, I tried to stay on my local board, and but believe it or not, they didn't want me there.
Yeah.
They could not understand it. Like short-circuited their brain that somebody who knows baseball in the community wanted to stay to help build the community league better.
League.
And they couldn't understand what I was doing there, and they didn't want me there. So eventually that faded out. But you're seems like you're more invested in it than I was. So to be able to see that through, that would be fantastic. But even if you don't. Okay, even if you don't, what would your vision be for that league in the future? As it continues to grow, what would you think would be a success in the long run?
So we've always said 500 was the sweet spot. We could get to a registration of 500. One of the things that is cool about us is that we're small enough to where it's like a family. I mean, I can't walk 10 feet out here without hearing, "Hey, Coach Matt," and that's from Coach Pitch kids to one of my seniors coming up and punching me in the arm when I'm not looking. You know what I mean?
Right.
But being able to grow, it'd be cool to double what we're at now. I would like us to be able to, down the road over the next 5-10 years, be able to field teams for district and invitationals, send our very best to districts, and have competitive teams in invitational also. I want to see softball be successful. I don't really have a dog in that fight. I don't have a daughter that's playing or anything like that, but we started it. I don't want it to suck. So I want to see that grow. I'd love to get to a point where we have a team in every age bracket there, in division, and then that turned to 2 in each division, but that's a long process.
Yeah.
Back to what you said, you got to have patience. It is a very long process.
Yeah.
But I would just like to see it continue to grow. You just heard the story about you try to stay on when your son left, and you want to see it through and all those things. My buddy Jason, which is a longtime president here, that I played with when I was a kid, he's been here for 19 years.
Wow.
So he left, did school in his early to mid-20s. He settled down with a woman and came back here to Bethlehem with his stepson. And that's how he came back. Well, then he fights a little bit. And when it's like, well, are you leaving? It's like, well, no, I don't want to leave now because I want to see it through. And then, boards go through what they go through. Some people come in here that don't do good, and they get on this fight inside, and then he's got to fight to, so it very well could happen that I can't walk away.
Yeah.
Because I want to see it through.
Right. But would that be a bad thing?
What's that, to stay?
Yeah, if you couldn't get away, would that?
No, it wouldn't be a bad thing at all. It just all depends on how much is on my plate, right? So it's hard for me to say where I'm going to be in 5 years. I could be on a totally different path on a professional level. I could be back in school,
right,
doing things. So it depends what's on my plate. I'm a firm believer if you do too much, you don't do anything very good.
Exactly, I agree.
But no, from me, where my mind is, no, it wouldn't be a terrible thing. The cool thing is, I told you that one guy came back and was coaching. My son actually gives catching lessons to a couple of the kids in the league now. So, there's a good chance that when he ages out, he's back here. I drop down and get a young group, and my son's back here coaching with me. He's pretty much the unofficial concession manager already here. He's always working in the concession. He does a great job there. He's working with the younger guys. He helps coaching. He's helped me coach a couple falls. I told him if I have to take a second team this fall, I want him to help me, and he already said, yeah, I will help you. So, and there's some younger guys that are on the board who care and want to do a good job and all that. So if us old farts do have to get out the way, when I'm looking at who's coming behind us, it doesn't give me a doomsday feeling.
Right.
It gives me a feeling of they might keep the ball rolling. Because at this point, the momentum is a snowball, and you just don't mess it up.
Right.
Right. So just ride the wave and don't mess it up. Don't do something stupid. That's how we feel going into every season. Like, just don't do anything stupid this year and mess it up. So we got a good group of young guys on the board. We just brought in the 2 women helping with softball. So there's a good core here, even if I'm not here.
Yeah.
This isn't a one-man thing. This has been the hard work of a lot of people over the past few years that have got us where we are. Yeah. So we'll see when that time comes. I ain't making no promises because you're recording, so I don't want nobody to pull this up as evidence against me later on.
Well, I can tell you, one of the greatest thrills for me was when my son coached travel ball with me for a couple of years when he was in college. And, during the summer, he said, hey, Dad, I want to come and coach with you. And I got to be honest with you, coaching with him was a bigger thrill than coaching him as a player. Because it was more, I can't explain it. We were more
equals.
Exactly. More on a level field where, he would come over to me. I'd make I'd call a play or something. And he'd come over to me and say, Dad, I know you're getting old, but have you lost your mind?
Right.
And that type of relationship, and then we'd laugh about it. And it was just so much better than when he was a player. But, so I hope that's in your future.
Yeah, it's been cool the times that I have got to coach for my son. He's always my first base coach, and he'll come over and he'll give me his input on things. And when he's doing these catching lessons with kids, it's cool to sit back and watch him. He'll come to me and ask me, hey, he's doing this, Dad. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. But it was cool to see him. I actually stole his book to write some notes for tonight, and I was looking back through it when I was waiting for it to come on. It was cool to see him keep track of what he was doing with the players and what he was going to work on with them, and seeing the way that he saw an issue or something the player needed to overcome, and seeing him give advice that either I'd given him to fix the same problem or one of his other coaches or trainers have given him. And then it was really cool a couple times where he would give a fix, and I've never heard him be coached that. He was looking at it and saying, I think this would work, and doing that, and it actually helping the kid. And it was beneficial now, so it's a little different with your son because he was older, but it's beneficial for our kids to be coaching because it gives them what it looks like from the coach's standpoint.
Exactly.
So now he's thinking about his body language and eye contact and the way you say, huh, what, or is it, sir? Yes, sir. Again, sorry. You know what I'm saying? So it helps them to be better players too.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, my son even tells me now that he's playing in the men's league. He says to me all the time, he said, you want to know something, Dad? He said, the shame of it is, he said, now I understand. He said, everything that you were trying to tell me when I was 12, 13, 14. He said, I understand it now. And I told him, I said, well, you want to know something? I said, you're not the only one. All kids are like that there's very few that understand it. Right. There's very few. And those are usually the guys that go on to better things because they get it. Most kids, let's face it, most kids are not that in tune.
In like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How old is your son?
He's 25 now.
So that's funny. So I was having a conversation with a friend, and kids in the family turning 18, and she was having a big moment about it and all this. And, I told her, I said, they go away. I said, we fight them all their teenage years. They don't listen to a damn thing we say. I said, but hopefully they come back around when they're in their mid-20s and things start to click. I said, and then it comes back to where it's not so much mom and daughter or mom and son or dad and son. They kind of come back and they're kind of your buddy. They're kind of your friend suddenly, and they're grown up. And they have that moment where they say, now it hits, but it seems like that hits around 25. Same with me. When I was coming up, I didn't listen to a damn thing. But when I was in my mid-20s, it started clicking. I was like, that's why they fussed about the thing that didn't matter to me at all so much when I was 13, 14, because it matters when you're 25.
Right, and that's one of the problems that I see with parents nowadays is that they want to be friends with their kids too young.
Now.
Right.
Yeah.
And
they'll be bailing them out later.
Exactly. Yeah. My kids know that, when they were growing up, I was tough on them. But now, like you said, now they come to me and they say, hey, Dad, you know what? Now I understand, especially my oldest, because she has, 2 of her own and now another one coming. And now she goes.
And she's going through it.
Yep. She says, Dad, now I understand. And I always tell her, I said, you'll have that time like we have now. Now, my oldest is 31 going on 32. She's like, again, like you said, a friend, my middle one. And my son, forget about it. My son is the youngest, and him and I are buddies, best buddies. That's, there's no other way. But let's get to one more thing before you go.
Okay.
And that is, what has Bethlehem Little League meant to you personally?
Personally, so you're about to get me on another ramble here.
Good.
So I played here when I was a kid, and I literally grew up 2 blocks away from the field. Was my house, and that was very common back then. A bunch of guys that played in the league were in my neighborhood or the neighborhood across the street. And I can remember when I was a kid, we would, a weeknight in the summer, we'd be in the neighborhood riding our bikes around, or a Saturday after my game, riding around, probably still in my baseball pants and my baseball shirt, on my bike riding around. And we were so close that we could hear the PA system and the roars of the crowd while games were going on. And we would up and hop on our bikes and ride back up to the ball field, because that's back when kids could go away from parental sight.
Yeah.
Right? And we would ride our bikes up, and it was nothing to see 4 or 5 bikes leaning up against the fence and a bunch of guys hanging over the fence. And me and my buddy Jason, I've mentioned him a couple of times now, me and him talk a lot, and sometimes you get honed in and we want to recreate, or we want to create what we felt back then. And it's important that we realize it's not the same world, but it's our job to not recreate our glory days. It's to help create their glory days, right? So now I'll be up here at Dragon Fields or something, and kids from the neighborhood come rolling up on their bikes with a bunch of buddies, and, hey, Coach Matt, and they come zooming by on their bikes. And that means a lot. I love seeing kids out and doing stuff. It's cool to kind of see that generational thing. As much as we're so different, we always talk about this generation and that generation, and we have a lot of things in common. Little boys still want to do the same things little boys want to do. Yeah. Regardless of how the adults react to it. And I love seeing that. It gives me hope when I see it. It makes my heart happy. I've told you before, my son was on the verge of not playing baseball anymore when I came to coach here at Bethlehem. Yep. The only reason my son is still playing is because of Bethlehem. The reason he's helping kids younger than him is because of Bethlehem. The reason he makes money in the concession stand is because of Bethlehem. And my opportunity to have so many games to catch with my son is because of Bethlehem. When he lost interest in baseball, he was leaning towards basketball. Well, I'm 5'9", about 3 feet wide, Jimmy. So if it was basketball, me and him I was just going to be a taxi driver for him to get him everywhere. I played baseball. I know how to play baseball. It's been fun to be able to be with my boy out there all these years. And that's going to suck when he takes his final lap and he comes back around to home plate, and I'm going to have to leave from being coach to go be dad. That's going to suck. But, I've told him, I said, you'll be 30 and I'll be 60 and we can play catch. So it means a lot to me. I've got to know kids through a lot of different age groups here. And they come to me, and for some reason, some of them think the world of me, and I think the world of them. And, I only have one son biologically, but I think I'm up to about 48, 49 sons that I have now that I root for, I keep an eye on. It has provided me a community that I did not foresee coming. And all those things are special.
Yeah.
Bethlehem means a lot to me. It's become kind of my baby. I want to see it succeed. I want to see it do good. I don't want to see anybody hurt it. It means a lot. It's provided a lot. So I think it's an even trade with how much I give to it. I think it's given me just enough back.
Yeah, I love the way you just said that. That's fantastic. And also what you mentioned about, having one biological son. I'm the same way, one son. And I'll tell you a quick story. Just the other day, 2-3 days ago, I found out that one of my former players was in a car accident. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's fine. Everything is okay. So, pick up the phone. Hey, bud. As soon as hey, coach. So I said, listen, I heard, this, that, and the other thing. I said, first thing I want to know, are you okay? And he said, yeah, coach, I'm fine. And then, we talked about it. But my point is what you said, that yes, these kids become part of you where, you hear something. I haven't coached this kid. He's in college now. I haven't coached him since he was 14. But still, when that phone rang, he answered it. He said, hey, coach, it's just amazing, those relationships and the way they happen, and you summed it up beautifully there. But one other thing that you said that I want to touch on before we go is you said, and I need to say this because you said that, you don't want to recreate what you had, but you want to create something for these kids that it'll be their glory days. And again, I love that you said that. And I also love the fact that you're actually doing that. Okay. Because again, these kids, from what you've described about that league, these kids are going to grow up and they're going to be your age and they're going to look back with their buddy and they're going to say, hey, remember that time we were playing with Coach Matt and da-da-da-da-da. You're creating their glory days, Matt. And I got to commend you for that because you're doing a fantastic job.
I told the boys this past All-Star run, they're so lucky to be able to be together for so long. And I was like, y'all don't realize it. I was like, but y'all are going to be 33, having a beer at a cookout, and y'all are going to be speaking each other's names. Oh, you remember that time? Remember Jimmy Phil and Jerry? Man, he had a rocket on him, dude. You remember that district run we had, and he gunned him out at home from right field, and that year that these three guys were in the outfield and no ball could beat us. And I was like, you guys are going to tell stories about each other for the rest of your lives. And I hope they continue the friendship.
Yeah.
Past Bethlehem, the kid I've mentioned a couple of times about aging out, he was helping us with the concession stand during a tournament we hosted. And him and my son work out with Dave, the guy that you had talked to. Mm-hmm. And they were talking, hey, let's carpool, because the older one is driving and stuff. And he's like, yeah, I'll pick you up, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, it's good to see them wanting to continue to be friends. And it's important to me as a father because I want my son around good dudes.
Yeah.
And the kid that I'm talking about, I couldn't give an example of a better kid. Great family, good young man, heck of an athlete. But his athleticism, as good as he is the least important thing about him. He's just an all-around solid dude. And that's who I want my son hanging out with.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want my son hanging out with the knucklehead. And that's another thing, how I feel about Bethlehem. It's given my son friends and an outlet that's not just at his school. That are good dudes, and put him around some good coaches and good mentors. And Bethlehem has provided a lot of that for him.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, Matt, you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work. And I mean, I'm grateful for this relationship. Started way back 4 years ago when this podcast first started, and to have you as a friend is fantastic. And like I said, I can't congratulate you enough for doing such a great job.
Thank you, man. Well, I appreciate it. You're doing a good job with this. When I first came on here, you were you were just getting going. I mean, I think I was in like the top 10 episodes, or the first 10 episodes.
Oh yeah, you were right in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very early on. I remember me and you having conversations on the phone after that about some humps that you were trying to get over with the podcasting and trying to figure things out. And I mean, some of the names that you get on here now, the guests that you have coming on, I'm thinking, man, he went from old Matt Cole at Bethlehem to talking to this dude. So you're doing a great job. I told you I loved hearing Sal, the last guy you just had on. It was great having a T-ball coach on. You kind of got deep in the weeds with some of these guys you've been talking to. And it's great for me to hear because of the level that my kid's at. But I know when the podcast first started, it was very youth-driven. And as you go through it, I was very youth-driven to a certain age. And now, I'm doing all these things for the seniors and the older guys. And you kind of get honed in on what your major focus on is. And as I was listening to the podcast, I said, it's great that he's got a little league guy on here, or Babe Ruth. I'm not sure what he was from, but he's a T-ball coach. He's just starting out. He's giving people his experience. And I was like, he needs to have a few more of these. And then at the end of the episode, you said, maybe I need to do a few more youth things. And as soon as I heard that, I backed out of Spotify and I went to my contacts. I said, hey, Jimmy. So I love what you're doing also. I love that you're looking to do a couple more youth guys because it's easy to forget those. But I think probably more than any coaches, it's those guys at the youth level that really need the help and they need to hear the conversation. Yeah. And they need it maybe more than the guy trying to figure out how to get his kid recruited. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. For the sake of baseball.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those youth conversations are great. So hat off to you to have those.
I look at it this way is that, we've had, national coaches of the year. We've had, high
USA
coaches, high school Hall of Fame coaches. But my show from day one has always been, even when I talk to those people, I'm asking them about what they would do with youth.
The younger guys too.
Yeah. And I always want to get that perspective, like from a guy like Sal. And I'll be honest with you. And I mean, I know Sal's probably going to listen to this and he's going to hear what I had to say. I was a little apprehensive. I was saying to myself, I don't know, is this going to be good content? Is this going to be something that people, and then I said to myself, you want to know something? No, he needs a voice. If he was bold enough to reach out to say, I want to come on that show, well, I'm going to give him a voice. And that's the way I look at it is you don't have to be, one of the top coaches in the country. I'll talk to anybody. So,
and just so Sal don't get his feelings hurt, he did a great job. I thought it was a great episode. Good communicator. I loved some of the things that he talked about that he does with rotating the players. And there's just some things that he hit on that I thought were really good. And you don't have to be a guru to have worth.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The same as a player doesn't have to be a stud and that's all his worth. If you're not good at baseball, you can be a good person.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
yeah.
Well, Matt, again, thanks for reaching out. Thanks for being a friend, and we'll stay in touch.
All right. Well, if you're ever scraping the bottom of the barrel for a host again, you give me a holler, all right, man?
I will, Matt.
All right, Jimmy. Appreciate you, man.
I think it's really fitting that we've done a couple of shows now with Little League coaches, being that the Little League World Series is going on right now, it kind of seems to fit. I love talking with Matt, and we've become friends over the last 4 years simply from this show and his Facebook group. But one of the things that I love about Matt is how much he cares, not only about the kids in Bethlehem, but about coaches everywhere who are working to make the youth baseball experience better. He's the kind of person who just doesn't see a problem and talk about it. He looks for ways to share solutions to connect with people and to give coaches the tools and encouragement that they need to succeed. Through his group, Matt has built a beautiful community. It's more than just drills and philosophy. Yeah, I know there's plenty of that too. But it's really a space where coaches can ask questions. They can share their struggles that they're having. They can celebrate successes and remind each other why we do this in the first place. You know, this is an era where youth sports can sometimes feel like overwhelming or overly competitive. And what I love about what Matt is doing is he's helping to bring back the focus to what really matters. You know, teaching kids, supporting growth, and making baseball a game. And he even said it, making it a game that they'll love for life. He's not out there saying he has the answers. He's out there saying, let's figure this out together. Let's share what works. Let's help each other get better for the sake of the kids. That kind of mindset is what makes great coaches and great leaders. So, Matt, I got to say, thank you for the work you're doing, and thanks for taking the time to share that passion with us. So if you're listening and you haven't joined the Youth Baseball Coaching Support, Drills, and Philosophy group yet, I encourage you to do so. It's one of the best examples out there of how coaches can support one another and lift a game from the ground up. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and get this, the old man has finally got us on TikTok. Keeps me young. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.